Sorry, I said show the old footage. Like, where are we? Like,
You're live, that's what you are.
are we vampires now?
Good start. Good start.
Yeah.
Let's get this right. That mic's a bit louder than I expected.
Yes, please.
Okay, cool. Hopefully everyone can hear us. You can't see me. We're coming to you all the way from Sydney in glorious 7.5 frames per second. But honestly, it's kind of a miracle that we're even able to do this because it's all running from a Steam Deck. So we're going to answer your questions for the next however amount of time. And we're going to kick off with some stuff from our subreddit. I'm not just ignoring you. My phone is here to see the questions.
Should we do introductions first? We have.
Sorry. Okay. Shall we start here? I'm Ben. I'm the community manager.
I just took a bite of chips. Hi, I'm Jams. I do lots of different things.
Yep. I am Evan, producer, developer, director. Yep.
Yeah, and I'm Chris, the new guy. I'm the Chief Operating Officer, just trying to work on some of the internal stuff that we do at TPI and see how we can get better at doing the internal stuff.
A lot of behind-the-scenes stuff.
A lot of behind-the-scenes stuff, exactly. So you don't see me very often, but hopefully you'll start seeing the output of the work I've been doing.
Okay, hopefully you can all see and hear us acceptably. This TV's so big and so far away that I can't actually...
Well, someone on YouTube said, welcome, Chris, so I'm assuming they're here.
Yes, fantastic.
Yay.
Right, let's do a Q&A. So, first off, this has been asked a lot. It's actually been asked by the very people whose job it will eventually be to do this. Are there plans for or a current inclusion of non-English versions of the Carousel?
Yes. Moving on, no. So our outside of China, we work with Lucky Duck Games on all games localizations, and our agreement with Lucky Duck does not include the Carousel, but it should very soon, and we'll be getting it out as soon as possible. If things go well, those versions will start printing hopefully before the end of the year. No guarantees, but yes, there is a clear path and hopefully a brief timeline.
That's fantastic.
And for China, there's already a Chinese version of the Carousel. So
okay, There you go. All right, moving on. Since all of the bonus characters in the Carousel will be public at the time of recording, that is true. They are now all public knowledge. What went into choosing those 5 characters? Jams, I think this one's probably for you.
That's a me question. There are quite a few characters that are close-ish to being ready to release, and so we had a pool of characters that were like pretty close, needed maybe still a little bit more tweaks and testing. And this was all like a year ago plus, I think. Actually, yeah, just about a year ago was when we started working on this.
I'll jump in and say that the ability to release 5 extra characters was a feature of us using the same punchboard template from the base game, realizing how many punchboards we needed to release the characters we already had up to the wizard, and then realizing, we've got 5 character token spots left. We can do 5 more on the Carousel. So from that process, Jam started looking at what we can do from there.
Yeah, so we had 5 slots, and there were some conversations about like, do we want a blank token? Do we want to do all 5? And so Steven and I basically sat down and I said, what are your top 5, that you would want to release? And then from there, we started to talk about, I think we had a list of around 10-ish that we were toying with. That did all different things. We did want to try and get a variety of character types. So there was, at one point, I think we had like 4 minions. We were like, no, that's too many minions. Let's kind of rein it back in and make sure that we get like a townsfolk in there, different things. But yeah, we were really looking at characters that were already quite close to being ready to release, that we just thought would be nice additions to what already was out there in the world. My job in particular was juggling all the different priorities that everyone had. So from Evan's standpoint, I think he wanted characters that were like ready to go, and that wouldn't require any sort of tweaks in the text.
Things that aren't going to change later.
Because we didn't want to publish them on tokens and then go, oh, wait a second, actually this wording is bad or wrong. Steve wanted very particular characters just for what they did and how they contributed to the game. I know Ben and Stefan had both asked for at least one character that had really interesting and engaging app functionality, something that couldn't necessarily be replicated in general on like any version of online Clocktower, but that was a good reason for people to want to play on the app. And that was where the Wraith ended up coming from into that group of characters. And and then my job was to just go, okay, all of these people have all of these different priorities. How do I put those all together so that we end up with a pool of characters that kind of meets everyone's priorities, respects everyone's priorities, and also just are fun ones to put out into the world. And that is how we came up with the ones that we did.
Awesome. Well, this one might be hard to answer because it's very much a Steve question, but Evan, you might have some insight into this. What specifically was the original interaction that made you all go, I want to design Blood on the Clocktower? I believe the answer, or at least the answer I've been given to this, so maybe you can tell me if I've just been lying to people for the last 5 years, was that Steve had a game of Werewolf where he was a villager and died really early and kind of thought, there's a really good game in here somewhere, but it's got some problems.
If the specific verb you want to use is design, then that's really mainly that's why does Blood on the Clocktower exist? And the story, as I understand it, is his friend invited him around for a night of Werewolf. He gets there. He's never played a social deduction game before. He gets given a villager character, and he goes to the host. Goes, great. What does the villager do? And the host goes, absolutely nothing. He's like, all right, I'll do my best. And then the game starts, day one. It's like, Steven's dead. He's like, great, I'm dead. What happens now? They're like, nothing, you're out of the game. He's like, okay, wow. But he said he played Werewolf all night. He had a great time. And throughout the night, he kind of came to the idea of, this game is broken. I've had a lot of fun, but it's broken, and I reckon I can fix it. And it just started from that point. So this is my words, not his, but... because I'm not to say hey, these are my words, but I've never heard him describe it this way, but this is my take, is that Blood on the Clocktower is the game Stephen thought he was going to play when someone first described Werewolf to him. As far as myself, in terms of designing it, I would say just in terms of working on it, found it extremely fun, extremely exciting to play every single time, infinitely replayable. Even before I was a producer, I was saying to myself, and still do, I will probably play this game the rest of my life. And so jumping on board as a professional endeavor was just a no-brainer when the opportunity was offered. Yeah,
it's good. I'm glad you like Blood on the Clocktower, Evan.
Breaking news.
Okay, where are we at now? That was a very good question. This is good. I like this. Are there plans for 5 new travellers in each unreleased script? Ooh. And if so, is there a reason only 2 experimental ones have been revealed so far? Well, I mean, the latter of that is largely because about demand, really, isn't it? Script builders want and need. They've got a never-ending thirst for new townsfolk, outsiders, minions, and demons. Whereas there is a vast swathe of our community that very rarely interacts with travellers. And so it's a supply and demand thing, really, more than anything. But yeah, Jams, do you have any idea if each of the expansions is going to have 5 new travellers?
Yeah, for travellers for the expansions, we don't have a set number that we're going to release. But I think it will really come down to what travellers we have in the works, how they fit into the expansions, and kind of how many we want to have. I think ideally we'll have a consistent number across them, but that number might not be 5 if we don't have 5 that we really like. It feels silly to say that design is sort of that vibes based as a process, but it genuinely is. I think when things feel right, we're kind of this is right. Designing the Zon is a great example of that, because that was a character that was designed quite quickly, but as soon as we got it, we were just this is it. This is exactly how this character needs to be, and we just knew. And I think designing Travelers for the expansions is going to be quite like that, where if we have the right Travelers, we'll know, and then we will stick with whatever that number of Travelers is. It could be 3, it could be 4, it could be 5, it could be 2. I don't know what it'll be. There are currently 3 released experimental Travelers. The Gangster and the Gnome you all know about, and then when those of you that have gotten a Carousel get it, you'll see another one in there. That one will be more publicly available online later this year. But yeah, beyond that, I think I can think off the top of my head of about I would say maybe 8 more that I pretty consistently test with, which is quite nice, especially when we've got larger numbers at a game, to be able to just kind of test these different Travelers. And of those, I think I can think of maybe like 2 or 3 that I'm like, yes, this would make a lot of sense on this particular expansion script. But the others, I'm like, I could see those anywhere. So we'll see where they go and how they go. I think I would be surprised if we didn't have any recommended travelers for each script. But I don't know what the exact number will be.
Fantastic. So this is a question that we get asked a fair amount, and 7 people have liked it. So yeah, there you go. The pressure's on. This one's Would you sell a Carousel light package including the base 3 character tokens instead? So basically, will we sell the tokens for the base 3 scripts on their own without a box and all the other gubbins that comes with it? And they've given a justification. It's simple. They want to be able to make custom scripts and put them in a box and not have to take tokens out of individual ones, and they'd just rather have multiple copies of each token.
I can relate to this because I literally just said to Evan yesterday, hey, I'm going to need another like TB, S&B, and BMR just because I'm out. Like mine are all split through different boxes and I can't take a Grim and go run normal games. So.
This is something that is a relatively niche request, and probably not to the people watching. But most people won't want this, but the people who want it will really want it. And something like this has been what we've always wanted to offer. What we were looking at, and I think I've mentioned in previous Q&As, these aren't exactly secret plans, was looking at is selling each character on individual punch boards, and you can even just go online and order the custom script you want. The main issue with that is fulfillment centers. That is an extremely finicky request for a fulfillment partner. As pick and pack goes, it's nightmarish. There are so many things that can go wrong. It's cost prohibitive to send things out that way from a bespoke request thing. So when we've looked at the practicalities of doing that, it's not even in the website, it's not even in the manufacturing. It's just what can we do with our fulfillment partners? And this is just kind of too tall an order for all of them, which is fair. So something like what you've said is, hey, like we are building custom scripts. Let's we want to mix and match. We want to do things around. The efficient way might just be like, here are all the tokens you need. Order as many sets as you need. Mix them how you want. It is going to be a little bit inefficient if you're ordering whole sets at a time. But if you are to the point of playing Clocktower and you want those token sets in that box and you just want to be able to grab your physical edition, then I think it's going to be worth the money for you to save that time and have those things ready to go. So I hope that's a satisfactory answer and compromise from
maybe we could just be like Munchkin and create a branded version, like 500 branded versions of everything. We could have like a Warhammer 40k, Trouble Brewing.
Get all the IPs.
We could do Game of Thrones, Bad Moon Rising. People would love it. People would buy that. Okay. Oh, this is a really good question. Is there anything you particularly think about when expanding into new countries and markets? And do you have to keep track of new countries that the game starts getting popular in? Well, the answer to the second part of that is no, because we just find out about it almost immediately.
We start getting emails.
Yeah, we start getting emails. It's happened a bunch of times. Like, I remember a while ago, the game exploded in Georgia because this really cool guy called Vaco started creating content about it, and that's almost always what causes it. A big content creator learns about Clocktower, realizes that their countrymen would find it entertaining, starts creating content on it, and then all of a sudden everyone starts playing it. So yeah, we become aware of it pretty quickly when it happens. But with regards to expanding into new territories, there's loads of stuff, isn't there? I mean, for a start, every country is economically different, right? Yeah. What an American or a Brit or an Aussie or many of us in this world are fortunate enough that if we save up our pennies, we can afford a $150 board game. But there are countries where that's just a farcically high number, and there's no one could reasonably be expected to spend that much money on a board game because the realities of that economy are completely different. You probably know more about this than me.
Yeah, this is actually a really big question because the answer, like, what do we do when we expand into a new country? What do we think about? The answer is everything. Economically, for board games, most board game companies make their money selling to the United States. Let's be honest about that. And which is why when the tariffs on Chinese manufactured goods came in, so many board game companies were hit hard by that because it impacts the majority of their sales, usually about 2/3 for most companies. And between, we're an Australian company, but we've got a huge base in the UK. We've got Ben. We've got a huge base in the US. A lot of sort of shared culture, shared language between Australia, the US, UK, even extending into Europe, where there's a high rate of English language speaking, such as Germany. Clocktower is even in English language. Germany is a huge country for that. But when the game gets popular somewhere else, we need to look at what can people afford in that country. How big are board games? How do they engage with games? For example, in China, Blood on the Clocktower is monetized there a lot more as a service. You go to a cafe or a venue where you pay someone to run a game of Clocktower for you. People are much less likely to buy it as an item. So that we have this game that people really like, but the way to monetize it there, the way to have a successful business, a sustainable business, is different in China than it is in the West, comparatively. Similarly, we've wanted for a while to expand into India. There's a growing fondness for not just Blood on the Clocktower, but board games generally. They're kind of like that wave is cresting in India. Everyone we speak to there is like, yes, it's growing, it's going to be big in a couple of years, but we don't have as much shared culture. Bureaucratically, it's not as easy a place to do business as the United States makes it to do there, or the UK. Same with Brazil, with a lot of South American countries, where we want to be able to expand, but we would have issues with shared language and bureaucracy. These are things that force us to consider where we best spend our resources versus what we want to do versus what we can do versus what's the best value to do. This is probably only half answered your question, but when you say what do we think about, the answer is everything. Every place is different, and there are different challenges and advantages everywhere. So we just got to do the best we can.
It's a learning experience as well, right? Yeah. I mean, like none of us, I say none of us, up until recently, none of us really had a business background, right? We were just kind of a bunch of nerds figuring it out as we go. This is a big part of why we've got Chris on board. Chris is much more... Chris is the adult in the room, proverbially. He's got a lot of experience working with much bigger businesses than ours. Do you want to sort of introduce yourself a bit, actually, Chris? I think this is a good segue.
Yeah, sure. So look, a lot of my background has been in senior leadership roles, working in IT and things like that. I've worked with a lot of organizations from an advisory perspective as well, going in and helping organizations run things better. Some pretty big companies, but a few small ones as well. And so I came in initially on a contract with TPI just to do a bit of a review, how things look. Steve went, actually, you know what, come and fix it for us, and that's why I'm here. So yeah, it was it's a lot of fun. And I see a lot of potential. I'm learning a lot all the time.
Yeah, it's been really good learning both directions.
Yes.
For example, I think to use Chris was like, "Hey, do you have a risk analysis sheet?" And I'm like, "What's that?" Not even yes or no, but what are you talking about? Yeah. A few things like that. Like we've definitely scrappy startup, self-taught a lot of stuff. Specifically about games, so I think we've been learning a lot from each other.
We have.
Chris in games in this industry in particular, as a cultural thing, as just the logistics and production pathways, and us just kind of going, all right, this is what people who train to do this stuff actually think about and do. So it's been really cool. Yeah.
All right, that was a long one. That was a good one. Okay, there are quite a lot of questions about rules and stuff. I'm going to skip over those for now so that we can get to the other things.
Yeah, we'll rapid fire them later.
If we have time, we'll go back to them. Okay, this is one that I noticed recently, actually, that I think I'd quite like to answer. Are there plans for a homebrew character contest like Garden of Gin, but building scripts around homebrew characters? So basically, will the next World Cup be entirely homebrew, or are we going to do something of that ilk? The answer to that question is I kind of already had an idea in the back of my head that our next World Cup might incorporate this in some way. But what you've got to keep in mind is that we got... How many entries did we get? Like 500?
563.
500 and... I don't know why you remember that exact number, but thank you.
I'm autistic.
Okay. 563 entries, and that meant that we had to go through 563 individual scripts and of characters that we already knew exactly how they worked and fit together, and come up with a list of 16 of those, which was an absolutely mammoth task. If we were to do the same thing again, I think we can reasonably assume that we would get more than 563 entries. And if that was more than 563 scripts that each had 20-something completely original homebrew characters on them, we would need a factory full of people going through those meticulously to try and figure out which the best ones were. So a competition with like full scripts full of homebrew is probably not an option. But what I have considered is possibly a contest where we say we want just homebrew demons, or make us a script, but we want homebrew outsiders, minions, or demons, or something like that, or something that incorporates an element of homebrew characters but isn't entirely homebrew scripts. Because I think if it were entirely homebrew characters, it would be almost impossible to run. And honestly, I don't think the quality would be quite as good, because it's hard. It's hard to make one good character. It's extremely hard to make a handful of good characters. To create an entire script full of really good characters takes years at minimum, doesn't it? Really.
Yep.
I mean, Trouble Brewing took what, 6-7 years to make. I know.
World Cup around it. No, I will just add to that quickly. I think the reason the current World Cup works so well, and that we are happy to put it through our official TPI sanctioned channels, is that it is mostly characters from the game, tried, true, tested, official, but we've allowed people a little creative twist on how those are handled. So I think that formula of tried and true, but giving people a bit of avenue for creativity that isn't going to... Sorry, we just got an error message up there. So
don't worry about that.
This is buffering.
Hoping it works. It's just buffering.
It's telling us that 7.5 frames per second is not very good.
So mostly engaging with the game's content, but allowing people to bring in an interesting or creative twist. I would honestly just do the same World Cup again, another Jin's World Cup. But that is probably where I would lean for stuff like this in future. Whole homebrew scripts would take too long to vet and would be putting up too much non-TPI content that we couldn't really be sure whether we were putting forward a product that we thought was good or not. Again, as Ben puts it, without a factory full of people testing this stuff, and at that point we're just kind of designing a new game based on community input. So it's not the path I think we'd go down. Yeah. Okay,
let us know if the video quality is too bad, although I realise it's probably not phenomenal as is. This is a question about UK stock, and I'm going to roll it into a question that's been asked a bunch of times recently. The online store mentions the UK as a stock location. Is there a distribution warehouse in the UK for domestic orders and deliveries? Yes, there is. Or kind of, right? We go with Spiral Galaxy in the UK.
Sorry, can you repeat the question again, please?
Is there a stock location in the UK?
Yes.
We have to, because we can't deliver from the EU to the UK thanks to Brexit, which
sort of can.
Okay, but it costs extra. So yeah, we're with Spiral Galaxy in the UK. We are aware that the Carousel sold out in the UK in about 15 seconds flat. And we're sorry about that, and we knew we were going to get a question about that, so we might as well roll that into that.
Hello!
Evan's got our canned response.
Yes. So I'm just going to go through the numbers of how many games we printed, how many carousels we ordered, and where we sent them. So as I said earlier, for Blood on the Clocktower, we have printed... This is also a nice little just milestone. We've now manufactured and sold most of over 50,000 grimoires, the base game, which is just really cool to be able to say. Looking at our whole history of sales, going back as far as the Kickstarter, 2/3 of all sales happen within the United States. When you add Canada into that, you get to 70% of all sales are North America. So with those 50,000 copies, we took an educated guess based on how many people buy a game and don't play it, how big our followings are, YouTube account, just all the things, and we thought, okay, for people who get really into Blood on the Clocktower, we imagine, give or take 10% maybe, will be at that end game content where they want to order the Carousel. So we ordered 5,000 units of the Carousel, and we split them up roughly according to where the same proportions where the base game had been selling. With extra copies sent to Australia because we knew that they would be available for Clocktower Con. Well, we strongly hoped, which turned out to be the case. So what happened was they did not sell at the same rate according to where the base games have sold. So the United States still has a lot of copies, probably close to about 900, I think, whereas the UK sold out almost instantly, the EU sold out not long after, and Australia has less than 100 copies left, even after the convention. So there were 250 copies at the convention?
Yeah,
anyway,
and it was all sold out.
they are all sold out, so that looks like average of 1 in 2 attendees at the convention bought a Carousel. So this is... we haven't sold out of the Carousel, so part of it is like, hey, maybe 5,000 was about the right amount, but it sold out massively in the UK. Hasn't sold out in the US yet, which tells us that for people getting into the end game content of Blood on the Clocktower, there's much higher engagement outside of the US relative to where people are buying the base game. Now we know, we're sorry we didn't order enough. We are going to be printing more as soon as we can and looking at maybe getting copies elsewhere rediverted to the UK and Europe. It might not satisfy everyone, but it might get people a copy of the Carousel sooner than another print run could. No guarantees. We need to, make the phone calls, send the emails, see what that would cost, what that would look like. But yeah, that's the background of why we ordered what we did, where we sent it, where we did, and what surprised us relative to where people have been ordering grimoires. So thank you for buying the Carousel. Sorry if you couldn't get a copy of it. We're working on it as soon as we can.
Yeah. So what you're saying is Team GB is the best in the world of Clocktower.
Yeah.
We won the race, yeah. People in the UK who like it really like it. Okay. This is a good one. Will we ever get a script tool that formats them similar to the design of the base 3? Seeing release scripts on stream in the official style makes me want to style up my current library. So yeah, actually quite a few people have asked me similar questions. Having seen how amazing those scripts looked on our live stream on Friday, people want to be able to make those at home. And yeah, what do we reckon about that? I mean, historically we've avoided that, right? Because we are a little concerned about people not knowing what is official and what's homebrew and that kind of thing.
Those concerns recede the more popular the game gets. It's one of those things where not only have we not made a decision around it, we haven't made a decision around whose decision it is necessarily, but that's the next thing: deciding stuff and deciding who decides stuff. But I think they look pretty cool. I think our own script tool probably needs some kind of overhaul or re-examination at some point. Yeah.
Yeah, it is a bit dated, isn't it?
Yeah.
Hearing questions like this saying we want this stuff sort of bumps it up the queue a bit and makes us go, maybe we should look at this stuff. I'm certainly not opposed to it. There might be reasons not to do it. There might be more reasons to do it. But generally positive, no commitments at this point, I think.
All right. Spoken like a true politician. This is... Carousel's out. When will the experimental almanac be finalised with the Wraith and whatnot added to it?
It already is.
Okay. Well, this question was asked a couple days ago.
Yes.
Okay.
If you scan the QR code on your Carousel packaging specifically, so don't throw it out, but it's also botclinks.page/TC almanac. TC is in caps. The rest is lowercase. You can get to the current almanac. It has every character that we have done a official release for in it, so up to and including the Wraith specifically.
All right.
If you have questions about the mystery surprise traveler that's hiding there, you can probably go on the unofficial Discord and search up some people who said, "Oh, I was at the convention and this was how it's supposed to be run." But I need to talk to you about what we can and can't say about that publicly. So
I think it should go in the almanac, just not on the app yet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
great.
we
Then
can
it'll be in the almanac soon.
Yeah.
All right. And all those memes about the Lil Monster write-up are now just going to be confusing to new players now that we actually have one.
Well, there's not a write-up. There's just an almanac entry.
Well, almanac
we'll
write-up.
get there.
Tomato. Okay. Yeah, this is a good one.
Tomato field of tomatoes.
We've released some dice that are very expensive, and people are asking what makes them premium materials. What are actually, because I believe the description of them on the website doesn't necessarily say what it is that they're made out of. Do we? That's kind of a Reggie topic, right? And she's not here.
No, so the dice were supplied by dice manufacturer Level Up Dice. They are... I personally am not familiar with the exact materials they were made with. but I can go on. Yeah, the person who can answer that question is not here right now. But they came from a luxury dice manufacturer, Australian company, Level Up Dice. You can look them up. They came via them. Those dice's quality is their dice's quality, is as much as I can say. Yes.
Okay, yeah, and I mean they are a known creator of premium quality dice as well. So, to be honest, I would imagine that it's made out of the same materials that all of their premium dice are made out of. Okay, the quick one here because the answer to this is just yes. In the release game, Jams mentioned that the Wraith would wake if the ogre becomes evil after their pick. If this is true and wasn't a slip of the tongue, how does it work? And it works that you just wake them up. Yeah, of course you do.
Oh no, I did say that wrong.
Oh really? Okay.
Yeah, basically the way it works, and this is why like when we do live things, there are people who watch them. They're like, "Well, Jam said this thing," and it's like, yeah, like it's live. We make mistakes. We're human. Basically, if you are a character who is waking to learn that you have become evil, that means that you are already evil, and you're just waking to find out that that is now the case for you. So in cases like that, which would include specifically a goon who is being told that they are evil, an evil townsfolk who's being told that they are evil, a cult leader who is being told that they are now evil. Those are like the three main examples I can think of right now off the top of my head that I'm confident are correct. In any of those situations, the Wraith would wake because the Wraith wakes when evil players wake. That player is already evil and therefore is being woken while they are evil to learn that they are evil, and the Wraith is woken at that same time. The Ogre, if they pick an evil player, is not evil at the time that they wake. They become evil on the pick, and you wouldn't go over to the Wraith and wake them mid-pick because it's the Wraith wakes when an evil player wakes, as in opens their eyes, not like when they turn evil mid-waking. So yeah, Ogre is not a good example of that. I was just kind of racking my brain in the moment for like what are ones that what are things that can change alignment? An ogre can change alignment. But yeah, if the Fangu, similarly, like you wake the Fangu, the new Fangu, to tell them you are the Fangu, you are evil, but they became evil the moment they were targeted. And so the Wraith would be explicitly woken when the new Fangu is told that they are evil, but not explicitly woken in the case of an ogre. But also, these are all very niche. If you decide to wake up a Wraith in the middle of, like, let's say Ben just picked Evan and Evan's the demon, and so Ben's now the evil ogre. If you want to wake up the Wraith, that's fine. No one's gonna, like, the rules police aren't gonna come sue you. Like, who cares? That's fine. That can happen. And just if somebody asks you, hey, would you do this? Then you would go, yes, I would, because that's what you've done in that game. And that's, yeah, broader rules.
As the business grows and we find room in the budget, we will start taking on rules police to come and do that. So get it in now.
Yeah, kick down your door.
Get it in now.
Did you just wake up a Wraith with an ogre? On the ground! Okay, I'm still trying to power through these.
Going with that.
This is a good one. Now that the Carousel's in the wild, are there any regrets or worries with the current state of Blood on the Clocktower? Always, obviously. If there weren't, we wouldn't be here. Right?
Yeah, we're a small board game startup. Like,
everything's great.
It's tariffs, it's all this stuff. No,
we get everything right 100% of the time. No, I mean, of course there are, but like they're minor things. We are privileged, frankly. Like, it's not a competition, but if there was an indie board game publishing league table, we'd be consistently getting in the Champions League. We've done very well. We're very fortunate. We can see that in the fact that a lot of our brothers and sisters in the industry are falling apart because of the whole tariff thing and stuff like that. Like, we're lucky, and we're also lucky that we have a really, and I'm not just blowing smoke up all of your arses, a really great community. We have a community that cares about whether or not first-time players get introduced through Trouble Brewing. We have a community that cares about whether or not people feel welcome when they're in like the spaces where they play and stuff like that. So yeah, there are lots of things that could be better that we could, and that's when we're working to make that happen. But largely speaking, we've got it way easier than I would say 99% of our stablemates.
I think the normal worries that come with anyone running a business and doing this type of thing exists, and where particularly a business that is very community driven, very community based, and creates a cultural product. There are a lot of benefits that come with that, a lot of risks that come with that. But I would say no more so than anyone else would be in our position. And as Ben put it, we are privileged to be doing as well as we are with what we have, and y'all are a big part of that. So thank you.
Okay. Do you have any plans to collaborate with No Rolls Bard for another series? So if No Rolls Bard asks me to do another series with them, I will say yes under pretty much all circumstances. So if they come and knock in, I'm answering the door. If/when that happens, it would be theirs to announce, not mine or not ours.
Yeah.
So if such a thing happens, we won't be saying that it's happening. No Rolls Bard will be saying that it's happening.
The best answer is it's not no.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
maybe/yes. If you happen to... Oh, this is really good, actually. I actually have this question as well.
Oh, okay. All right.
Here we go.
Oh, good. Hello.
If you happen to finish an expansion script well before the other two, would you think about releasing it alone instead of waiting for all three to release at once?
It's not no.
Yeah, I would think about it. I would really think about it.
Well, that's.
But,
I mean, it's that'll come down to me and Steve, I think.
Yeah.
Unless I've egregiously misread how my job works. The expansions are very much in development, like concurrently, I think is the best word for that, because they are being created out of a much broader pool of characters that includes so many different characters and options and ways that characters interact, that what we want to do is make sure that by the time we're putting them all out into the world, they all relate to each other in a way that works and makes sense. And what we don't want to do is, come up with a character and we've been running it. Let's say we have this character. Actually, real example. I just created a character that we chucked on Midnight because it kind of solved a problem that we were having on Midnight, and it works really well on Midnight. There's a non-zero chance that character might also work really well on the Tomb or on Garden of Sin. And if it does, then if we start testing, playing lots of the Tomb, we're like, oh, wait a second, this works really well on the Tomb. Actually, I think it needs to be on the Tomb instead. If we finished Midnight really early and we're like, here you go, here's Midnight, and then all of a sudden we're like, shit, that needed to be on the Tomb. That's kind of the thing that we're specifically working with in this context of designing the expansions, is that we don't want to put ourselves in a position where we make a script less good than it could have been because we put a character in a different place than it ultimately would be better serving that script that it ends up being on. And so that's why we're choosing to develop them concurrently. So if we did sort of finish one and then the other two were quite far behind, I think it would just be an opportunity to really test and refine the one that we have and still be trying characters from that one on some of the others if we thought they made sense and fit quite nicely into what those scripts would be. So yeah, it's a very concurrent process, which sort of inherently means that we are very unlikely, I think, to release one well in advance unless we were like, yeah, there's 100% chance we know everything on this is perfect here and we're never going to take it and put it somewhere else.
Okay, and when those expansions do drop, do we plan releasing them physically immediately or digitally first, similarly to how the experimentals have existed? The answer to that is, we don't know.
I've literally never thought about that until this question.
I've thought about it a lot. It's quite a way away now, but there's 1,000,001 cool ways that we can release the expansions, right? We can have some big build up to them.
We're just gonna give them to ravens. The ravens are gonna fly them around the world. Yeah.
We could do a digital thing. I also thought it would be really fun to do some big set production YouTube thing, possibly even in collaboration with some YouTube channel like Norrell's Bod, where we do, we run the Tomb and then we run Garden of Sin and then we run Midnight and show them off on stage or whatever. There's 1,000,001 cool ways that we can do that. We're not going to waste any resources figuring that out now because we're a long way away from actual release, and it's much more important to get those scripts functional before we start thinking about the advertising side of it, really.
Yeah, I will say just, and this, again, isn't necessarily going to be the way we do it. For the Kickstarter, it delivered 2.5 years late, as many of you know. So a lot of companies, when they release a game, they will say, there's a release date, don't release it till this date. We kind of did that with the Carousel. We said, don't release it. We wanted it to be available everywhere all at the same time to go on sale at least. And the expansions are different from the Kickstarter in that there is no set date for the expansions. We said we're planning to do these things, but we have tried very hard to never promise them at a particular date or time. But we acknowledge that this is something people want and are waiting for, and have been waiting a long time for, and will continue probably to wait a long time for. So to that end, I probably, as much as possible, wouldn't want to stand on any kind of ceremony of a release date or anything like that. I would generally be in favor of, once the content is ready, making it available where it can be made available, as soon as it can be made available there. That might change, but it's... I don't think we need to be too fancy about this kind of thing. Like, if it's ready, make it ready. You know?
Yeah, it is, and it's a long way off as well. Who knows what things will be like by then?
Yeah.
It might be common to release your products along in an opera, or to fire it into the sun or something. Who knows what the future holds? Ooh, this is good. What does the Wraith flavor text actually say in English? Does anyone here know?
Well, Steve didn't tell me. He just sent it to me, and then I tried to send it to Patters to put on the wiki, and had to find a different way to do it than what I normally just do.
What language is it?
Is it in Nazgul?
Is it in a language?
Some of them genuinely don't have meaning.
Yeah, my guess is that it's just a bunch of symbols, to be completely honest. It might have a basis in something, but I'd have to ask Steve, and I didn't bother because I was too busy worrying about getting the Wraith almanac and all the logistics of that done. So I just saw it and was like, yeah, sure.
It translates to never gonna give you up, never gonna let you down.
There is actually an Easter egg in one. I want to say it's like the steward text or something, like on the actual scroll.
Oh yeah.
Is based on. I don't remember what it is, but there is an Easter egg there. It's not that level of troll, but it's close.
Oh, this is a great question. I've said that about all of them. They're all very good questions. There's the common concept of kill your darlings when it comes to design. Have there been any darlings that have had to be killed in the process of designing the expansions, whether that be characters or other concepts you wanted on a script?
Can you explain to me what that phrase means?
So basically, it might have some grand idea that's really, really cool, but
it's a Hemingway quote.
Yeah.
Ernest Hemingway writing advice that sometimes, for the sake of the work, you have to kill your darlings, kill your babies is sometimes the quote, which is the bit of the work that you've created that you love the most. You have to acknowledge doesn't work in the greater whole, and you'll make a better piece of art by taking out the thing that you love.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think it's currently more of a things that Steve loves thing in some of them, but there's when I first started working on the expansions, there was basically like a pile of characters that it was like, these all have the vibe of what I want this script to be. Please make them work together. And so for the last, I would say, close to a year, I've been running like various combinations of these characters that we want to make work together, and trying to make them work together, and identifying like where are the points of friction and points of tension between two things. A really great example is there were two minions that Steve really was keen to have together on Midnight in the House of the Damned that fundamentally do not work together. And there was no way to make them work in the form that they existed without having to jinx them in a way that was like really honestly kind of lame. It just didn't work. And so I basically said, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop trying to run both of these characters together on Midnight, and I'm going to start running versions of Midnight that have either one or the other, get feedback on which one people are finding more fun, and then just kind of forge on in a direction that doesn't involve the one. And this is a character that Steve loves. And I was just like, I'm going to chuck it in the bin for the sake of like this script working. And we might get to a point later where we go, well, I really want that. How do we bring that back in? What does that look like? We had a similar problem with one... I thought I had found the perfect solution to like outsider modification on one of the expansions. I was like, this is brilliant. This solves all the problems that we had in this world because this like didn't function at base 0. And now we have like a good character that has this outsider modification, and it solved all of our problems until somebody was like, hey, so, yeah, that doesn't work with this demon. And I was like, no, this is such a problem. So this happens all the time where we have, you have a great idea. You're so excited about it. And then you have to stop and go, okay, but that like, it fundamentally doesn't work. And if we're trying to design the expansions in a way where we avoid having any jinxes as much as we possibly can, that does often mean letting go of ideas that are really fun or really exciting or really cool because we are choosing another idea that is also really exciting and really cool, and they don't work together.
The best metaphor I've seen for trying to finalize a base edition script is that episode of Father Ted where he tries to tap the dent out of a car with a hammer, and then and hours later the car is just an absolute mess. You go, I'll just change this one thing. Well, that's made another lump here, so I'll just tap that away. And if you get carried away, it just becomes an absolute mess. I will give one other example of this one that happened, which was originally the conception was that your own alignment was something that could be obscured by whether you were drunk or poisoned, which is fine in the base editions. There's not that much alignment change. But later on, there was a lot of internal debate around whether being drunk or being poisoned meant the storyteller could lie to you about what team you were on. And eventually, just for the sake of overall player enjoyment, Steven decided that, no, you unless the character says otherwise, like a marionette or a lunatic, you always know what your own alignment is, even if you're drunk or poisoned. But taking that away had a lot of implications for the intent of Garden of Sin in particular. So there's this one sort of darling that got killed that took kind of one of the legs away from one of the planned expansions. There are things we're talking about around that, things that to make it work another way. It's not like it's totally defunct now, but that is one thing that I would definitely call a kill your darlings moment that I think helps the overall work improve. Yeah.
Oh, spec and spoilers are going absolutely apeshit right now. I imagine after hearing that, they're gonna eat for a month. Okay, this one you kind of already answered this on Friday, but I think it might be helpful to answer it again. Having now played with the Wraith IRL, thanks to Clocktower Con Australia, I'm just wondering what the plans are for implementation in app. I've heard about a chat function for evil players. It sounds like it'll be helpful, but in terms of waking up when good aligned players wake, it'd be great to know how you're looking to implement peaking and how, as a good player, you might spot them. So this is already out on our previous live stream. You can see this explained, but you might as well go over it again here for anyone who doesn't know.
Yep, you can watch me say the exact same thing in the video from Friday. So the Wraith has a really cool online implementation. We worked really hard to put this together, and a big shout out to Stefan for programming it all for me and doing all the things that I asked him to do very nicely. The way that it works is that you, as the Wraith, have functionality in the app that allows you to open your eyes fully or go into what I have lovingly dubbed peak mode. So if you fully have your eyes open, you get essentially the same viewing as you would if you were storytelling, where you can see the little eyes appear on anyone who has received a message from the storyteller. So you get a message on, you don't get a message like physically in your app, but you'll basically, if somebody, let's say the storyteller has sent Ben a message, then I see a little eye as the Wraith appear over Ben, and I can click on that eye and see that the storyteller said 3 to Ben, or I can see that the storyteller said pick 2 players, and then Ben said Evan and Chris, and then the storyteller said no. So I don't know that doesn't tell me what Ben is necessarily. I don't learn what his character is, but I do learn all of that information. When you have your eyes open, you can click on any player who's received information, and the way that the sort of catching mechanic works is that every single time the storyteller specifically sends a message, there is an internal dice roll that happens on the back end of the app, and if that dice roll returns lower than a certain number, a little message will pop up saying Jam saw this, or whatever the race name is saw this. So every single time you're in eyes open mode, there is that risk of being caught peeking on people's information.
Do you know you've been caught?
You do. So because the message comes up, everyone who has access to that message sees it, which is the storyteller, you as the Wraith, and the player who is there. You also, if you have your eyes open, you might as well click on all of the messages that come up if you're in that all the way open mode, because you specifically, the message that you were caught, it rolls the dice basically whether or not you click on the message. So if you're choosing to open your eyes, read all the messages that come through, because you will get caught regardless of whether you actually click on them. However, there is a medium option which parallels the way that the game works in person, which is that as the Wraith, you can choose to have your eyes open when the storyteller's walking around, and the second that they go over to tap on someone, right before they tap them, you can just close your eyes. Yeah. And so you're like, I know that Evan wakes up because I watched Ben walk over to Evan and go to tap him. I don't know what Evan does, but I know he wakes on these specific nights. And it's actually pretty easy in person. person as the Wraith to just sit there, keep your eyes closed, and then like, you know, open them when it's like, okay, it takes a storyteller about this long to kind of do their thing. So I can kind of like open a little bit and go, okay, yeah, like Evan's done doing his thing. Oh, and now he's going to wake up Reggie. And like, okay, now I can do this. And so when you're in peak mode, you get text notifications in the chat that tell you specifically who the storyteller is waking, but you don't get any information about what's happening while they wake. So you have the option to switch between peak mode and all the way open mode, which parallels how it works in person. On top of that, at any point in peak mode or eyes all the way open mode, you can send private messages, private whispers to anyone in the game. So any player in the game, doesn't matter if they're neighboring you or not in the circle, you can send private messages without any whisper envelopes flying around. So that allows you to coordinate unlimited to
Just send private messages to one good player.
Oh yeah,
I do it all the time. No one will believe you.
Well, like here's the thing, right? If there's a marionette on the script, holy crap, just message it. Hey, so you're the marionette, and like your neighbors that just drive them crazy. But yeah, it's a really really cool feature. And yeah, on top of that, so it does require the storyteller to use the night cards on the app. And so if you're running a stream, you can kind of like talk to your players and have those night chats with them. But there's not a way for the Wraith to join night chats, sort of literally like adding them to the chat, which is totally an option, right? If you want your evil team to be able to talk to each other, you can just wake them. Like, let's say that like me and you are evil together. Ben, the storyteller, can just say, oh, like I'm just gonna ping you both into a chat so you can just talk.
I just thought you meant
That's
for
totally
good players for a second.
Oh yeah, for good players as well, right? If you're the Wraith and you saw, like, let's say I saw that you wake Evan, I'm like, I just want to go fuck with Evan. I can just message the storyteller, say, hey, can you please just add me to the chat with Evan?
Yeah.
Just bring me in. And like, that's fine. The storyteller can do that. That functionality was already there. But there's not a way to like listen into a chat that people are having like a video and audio chat during the night, and we intentionally decided not to go that direction because of privacy issues. We didn't want players to have a situation where they didn't know that somebody might be listening and they're talking about something not about the game with the storyteller, and then have the Wraith be like, oh shit, I'm not supposed to be here. So yeah, that's why it's designed around the cards, but you do have the option as well to kind of like add yourself in, or like to ask the storyteller to add you to a chat, basically, if you think it would be a thing that you want out of your night. So.
And do you have any idea what the numbers are with that RNG with regards to?
I do specifically. I think someone let it slip online, which I'm very genuinely disappointed about, because the reason it tested so well was because players didn't know, and so you knew there was a small chance, but you didn't know whether or not, like, or how likely it would be to happen. That said, the actual numbers are based on how often the Wraith got caught when they weren't trying to get caught in-person games. So basically, of all of the Wraith games that we tested, I both like took stats and asked all storytellers if I wasn't there to take stats on, hey, was the Wraith trying to get caught? And did they get caught? And so we did base the RNG numbers off of the actual real life likelihood that you will get caught. Which obviously does depend based on the person. Like, I have some friends who are just so obvious, and then other friends who, like, you would never know. But yeah, it's,
Okay, well,
good.
I won't press you for that. I'm just going to assume that it's roughly a natural 1 on a D20 and move on with my life.
Yeah, it's pretty close to that, to be honest.
Well, there you go. I have pressed you on it. Ha! I social deducted you. Okay.
Significantly deducted.
Okay. What's in development? Is there any end in sight for new characters, rules, ways to play? Yeah, so I mean, that's not specifically about the expansions. That's more about what are we going to be doing down the line. I don't think we're going to have any new characters for a while now.
Yeah.
Every time we release a new character, Steve and Jams have to spend their time getting that character ready for release instead of working on the expansions.
Yep.
And we want them working on the expansions as much as humanly possible. So we won't be seeing any new characters for a while now. The app will continue to be developed and worked on, and we'll be working on things that aren't new characters on that as well. Just off the top of my head, we've got things like improving the UI, hopefully getting it ready to be used on mobile devices and things like that, which is something
Do you want to give a quick UI?
Oh yeah, go on, Chris.
Yeah, so look, we've hired a UI UX developer, and I'm working with her on leading a project into reviewing concerns around the app that some players might have. Are there any usability issues? How can we improve it? How do we make it, a better experience all round? We're looking at things like building in a tutorial into the app, making it more seamless in terms of how do you interact with things like the wiki and the almanac and so on. So there's a lot of work going to go into the UX aspects of that. We're also doing a lot of work around language and building multiple language capability into the app. So those are the two priorities around the app development right now.
There's after for the only commitment for Clocktower left is the expansions. Anything like the monthly character releases that ended with the Wizard probably won't happen again for a while. The Carousel punchboard situation allowed us an opportunity to bash out a few more, which was really cool. But yes, if monthly character releases are, sharpening the tools and acquiring equipment for the meal of creating the expansions, now the meal must be made. After that, we don't know. We'll see. We might continue to create characters for release in the app. There might be more Clocktower after the expansions. No guarantees, but it's a possibility. There are some other things that we just cannot talk about, but there is more in the pipeline than what we are saying. Specs and spoilers, go nuts. All right.
And we're
new
going
character type, which is already incredibly public, and people know. They know that there is a new character type.
Oh, yeah.
That's known.
Yeah, that's known.
We've got some other stuff. We've got some other stuff on the sleeve. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, we're gonna make a Final Fantasy social deduction game.
I can.
And also we've got some cool new stuff coming up for the YouTube channel. I know that some of you are regular viewers on there. We've got now that the World Cup's over and done with. I'm finally my plate is almost clear, and there's going to be a brand new, really cool show on our YouTube channel. It's currently has the working title Traveller Chronicles. It's going to be a fully 3D environment where we play Blood on the Clocktower in VR, and it's going to be epic, and I'm really excited. It's going to require me to skill up a lot to edit it, but I'm super excited to sink my teeth into doing that, and I'm hoping that that's going to expand our YouTube channel to like a wider audience of people who want something a little more cinematic to watch the game with. So yeah, we got stuff in the pipeline. The next question on this list is almost identical to that, so I'm going to skip it. Sorry, trombone dude.
You can say that in real life.
That's what the ladies call me. Consummate professional.
Which they don't call you.
No. Yeah, they don't call me that. Practical consideration. Having now crammed all the tokens into the Grimoire, it's now at a point of critical mass even after removing the books. Aside from found solutions like fishing tackle boxes, that is quite the solution.
That's literally what we do for playtest.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm the only one here who thinks that's weird. Okay. Is there a thought on how physical tokens are going to be managed, and if/when there's more stuff out, how will that work?
We eventually want to do a token organizer box for all tokens. That is a desired thing we want to do. When and how that happens to be determined. But yes, we have thought about it. Right now, fitting a lot of token boxes into the Grimoire is
It's tight, but it's doable.
It's tight, but it's doable. Or other storage solutions until we come out swinging with a big fancy one. Yeah.
I actually have a ring binder, a really cool Dungeons and Dragons one. And I use a bunch of coin collecting pouches, and I slide my tokens into those and carry that around with me.
That's what Patters has too.
Yeah, I think Patters, who is here, has done pretty good. Patters, what's that thing that you use?
Say hi, Patters.
Patters is on the show, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh my gosh!
No. Okay. Yeah, you've got a thing that you use to keep your tokens in, right?
Yeah, it's like a jewelry box. It's like a 24-piece jewelry box. I've got 4 of them. They fit every character in Clocktower, including all the Carousel characters, Fabled.
Wow.
Everything.
Okay.
One big box.
Fantastic. Well, there you go. Yeah, and none of those are solutions that we as a company sell because we hate making money. Okay, we've actually run out of questions on the Q&A channel. Have you spotted anything in YouTube chat that might
there's
be
a
worth
bunch.
addressing?
My favorite was the person who was like, "They're not reading the YouTube," and I was like, "No, we're here." Let's see. We have. I'm trying to scroll back. Is there a way to implement a sort of note sheet that players can use to keep track of information, or would it impact the game too much for town?
That's a really cool idea. I've never even thought of that.
You mean in person or on the app? Like
On the app, presumably. I mean, I think a lot of people just use WordPad or Notepad on Windows, right? But I don't see any reason why that couldn't be implemented on the app. It's unfortunate that we don't have Stefan here right now, because he would be able to talk about the practicalities of it. But I think that putting text on a screen is probably one of the first thing computers did. So
this is I think a much bigger question, and I'm not saying this falls into that category, but it might, which is things that people want that make the game less enjoyable. One of which is, the example I always go back to is nomination and voting history. That used to be something that was available in the app, and you could go back to day one, who nominated, who voted on that, and go back through there. And it was extremely useful information for solving the game and winning.
Is that not still an option in the app, or did we get rid of it entirely?
I think it might still be an option.
I thought it was an option.
Pretty sure
it might be optionally toggleable, but I think that the vast majority of storytellers
play without it.
Play without it, because as you're probably about to say, it's about as much fun as a funeral if you're on the evil team.
Well, it's fun for some people, but like
it's fun if you're on the good team and you want to solve a puzzle. But for the same reason we don't put the knight order on the character sheet is because it's an extra piece of information that takes people out of the game, takes people out of communicating with other people, takes people out of face-to-face chats, conversations. We want people to be getting their information, their deductions from other players, not sitting there looking through a spreadsheet of voting history. So it was an extremely commonly requested feature that everyone said they wanted, everyone thought they wanted, but when you put it in, the games just became less fun, less engaging. It took people out of the socializing. So a notes feature in the app, people play differently online because the games take longer. The games will often have a lot, having come from Clocktower, maybe not so true, but more players, more complex custom scripts. People are taking notes anyway in a Word app or a mail app or something, but if you give them the space on the screen to do it, it might be, I'm not saying it will be, but it might be one of those things that takes people away from communicating and socializing and more engages them with just this text box on the screen.
And now that we've given this answer, I should probably point out that this person was asking about physical sheets that they could have.
Oh!
Yeah, I was like, I'm just going to wait for Darn to cut in. Yeah, I think the idea is more like, when you play Yahtzee, you have a little sheet that has the boxes. So that instead of having to write down on a paper, like, I got my full house, I got my Yahtzee, I got my, four of a kind, whatever, that you actually have a sheet that has sort of pre-existing categories. Like, would we ever consider
I've never played Yahtzee.
Designing a sheet? What?
It's
so simple. You get 5 dice and you roll them. That's
I don't play simple games jams. I'm a complicated.
Oh well, so sorry, Trombone Dude. It's my bad.
Yes.
In person, I can't really see a world where we would do that. I mean, just normal pen and paper works too good.
We also sell really cool notebooks now. You can get a notebook.
Yes. Get a notebook.
Oh yeah, they are so good as well. I picked one up for Aggie,
awesome.
and they're hard-backed, really high-quality printed art.
And
seriously.
Fun fact about the notebooks: Evan and I had to test them, which involved getting a bunch of different pens and pencils, and then just scribbling in them, just writing really stupid stuff. But yeah, I think that the idea behind a note sheet, the reason why it wouldn't really work from a design standpoint, is just that there are too many different things that people would want to take notes on, and there's no one way to be like, that's the correct way. Because I think anything we put, it would make people think, that's the thing that I should be taking notes on, or that's the correct way to take notes on the game. And in reality, that's not a thing. The closest you could probably get would be printing some sort of notebook that had circles with different player counts. But even for that sort of thing, what are you going to do? Give a notebook that has this number of 7-player Grims and then 8-player and 9, and then you use up your 12-player one really fast because your group always has 12 people, but then you never use your 7 because you never play a 7-player get it just doesn't really work. And so I think the closest that we could realistically get that would meet people's needs without setting people up to believe that there's a certain correct way to play the game is just a blank notebook, which we now sell.
I think the kind of thing you're describing is exactly the sort of space that hobbyists, Etsy stores and things like that are there to serve, right? Yeah. That's a very niche requirement, and if someone was out there selling special notepads with circles on them for different player counts for generic social deduction experiences or whatever, that's exactly the kind of cool fan-made thing that we're probably never going to fill that space.
Yeah, no,
I'm looking at you because I'm wondering if you're
the legal thing,
the legal guy.
Like, we
No, that makes such a
without going into a long sideline, figuring out the best way to navigate trademark and copyright and how that interacts with a robust and creative fan base is always interesting and difficult, and a fun challenge, but a challenge. Yeah. But one of the things that generally is fine if you make what would be called an aftermarket product, as long as you're not using the trademark to sell that product on the main title, you can say this is designed for use with Blood on the Clocktower. Like, I can make a phone case and say this fits an iPhone 15, as long as I'm not calling the product iPhone 15, the phone case.
Yeah.
You're fine. But you can say, yeah, this is intended for use with Blood on the Clocktower. It's called this, and it's for use with this. That's generally fine, I think. That sounds about right. Yeah.
Cool. Are there other plans to expand and have Clocktower cons in places besides Vegas, Australia, etc.?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Moving
on. No, sorry.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Yeah, 100%. We're already in talks with certain experienced convention organisers about expanding things. We are. Are we allowed to talk about the cruise and whatnot?
We had Clocktower cruise this year out of Florida. There's one in February 2026 out of Brisbane, Australia. So please go to bloodontheclocktower.com, click on the events tab. You'll be able to check information and buy tickets there. There is, Clocktower Con Las Vegas in October. We just had the Sydney convention. We don't want to look into confirming things, but there are 2 or 3 potentially on the cards around UK, Europe-ish zone that may be coming up in the next sort of 12 to 18 months.
There you go. Yeah, and I mean, I can't speak for everyone else, but I personally am 100% on board with as many of these as possible in reasonable places, because we have a global community right now. I mean, there's a photo on the subreddit that I saw literally today of a fan gathering in the Philippines.
There's loads of people in the Philippines. It's really popular.
So people were playing this in the Philippines before it was even out. I don't know if you remember. There was a group in the Philippines who played their own special rule where they would choose a different seat every day. Do you remember those guys? Yeah. So we're aware that this game's got a global community, and we want to try and serve that community as much as possible.
Cool.
Yep.
This one, where was it? Someone wanted to know what my favorite wizard wish was. Specifically me, but if anyone else has one,
Evan's got a good one.
I've got a good one, but it involves another unreleased character. I can't tell you.
Should have just said it was an Amni ability, mate.
Nah, no. The wish was, I wish for you to announce that the wizard has made a wish. That was the wish. The storyteller went out and said the wizard has made a wish, and from that they were able to manipulate the exact outcome they wanted. And one day I'll tell you the whole story. But it is my favorite wizard wish because it changed absolutely nothing mechanically. It was a purely socially intended wizard wish. And just while we're talking about the bloody wizard, my take on wizard wishes is keep it simple, stupid. I love wizard wishes that are so simple they don't need a clue or a penalty. Just that little tweak. I think a lot of the wizard, like the pit hag, has a lot of people coming in going, when I'm the wizard or the pit hag, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. But take a step back, look at what your game actually needs now. And if you can just get that little subtle wish in, especially when people are expecting, a boom crash opera, if you just come in with the thing you need at that moment, that's as a storyteller, I appreciate that. But those are the wizard stories I love hearing. So,
I think like almost all evil characters, you've played a better game if you've flown under the radar, right? And I don't think the wizard's any exception to that.
Yeah. On that note, my favorite wizard wish was when I wished that all public role claims happened. And what that meant was, like, let's say you juggle. Doesn't matter if you're the juggler, you get a number. Or if you gossiped, if it was true, someone would die.
Wow.
What
Cool.
I failed to realize when I made that wish was that the storyteller decided to rule that a wizard wish was also a public role claim because you're claiming to be the wizard and making a wish. So every good player went, wait a second, we have the wizard ability. So, like, Ekin was like, I wish that everyone could get fisherman advice. So, like, and then came back to town and was like, everyone can get fisherman advice.
No.
And George was like, I wish that it was organ grinder voting today. He was good. And then it was organ grinder voting. And so that game went off the rails real fast.
Okay, yeah, that's yeah.
It was so
Yeah.
funny. But it was great because I was like, oh, I can die, and then I died and claimed Moonchild and just named a good player who then died that night. And my demon had, for some reason, I don't know why they did this, but they wished for it to be Riot. So when I went to get I think it started as a Zombool game. When I went to get my wizard, or when I went to get my fisherman advice from Ekin, my advice was basically don't be surprised when you become Riot tonight. And I was just like, no! Because I had gossiped on the first day, and then Moonchild killed on the second night. No one expected it to be Riot, because it just, why? There were kills every night. That doesn't make any sense. So we ended up winning, but it was just, one of the most bonkers games. And I had that wish, locked up for a while.
These are the really two schools of wizard thought. Yeah. Well, one is, keep it subtle, and one,
no shenanigans and all shenanigans.
Wizard can do things no other character can. I think they're both, as long as they lead to fun times and good stories.
Yeah.
Correct.
Next question. With the success of the online app, how does online functionality and limitations thereof affect the character design process?
It doesn't.
We got asked
this exact question. Yeah, the answer is it doesn't. Yeah, Steve exclusively designs for in-person, and then we port that in-person experience to the app, and it's very important that things remain that way, because that's broadly speaking, that's how things remain fun. The conventions of in-person play are, generally speaking, and I might tick a few people off by saying this, but I think the majority of you will agree with me, the conventions of playing in person are a lot friendlier, a lot nicer, a lot more mature and responsible than the average conventions of playing online. That's not a statement about our online community. That's a statement about online gaming in 2025.
That's a statement about the planet.
Yeah, that's just how it is, right? And so it's much easier and I think much more sensible to create these characters as though the people playing them will be looking you in the eye when they're talking to you. And then port that into our app so that the sense of responsibility that most of us feel when we're in a room with a person is transferred through that design into the app. And so I think that's always going to be the case. I don't know if you want to add anything to that, Jams, is kind of your wheelhouse.
Yeah, and I think you pretty much hit the nail on the head. We're going to design the game we want to be designing and design for the community that both exists and that we intend to be designing for. And it always comes down to kind of we're going to adapt something that we have in person online as best we can. Or in some cases, I know when we were doing the Wraith, there was definitely some voices internally that were we maybe want to just leave this as an in-person character, and it's okay if it doesn't work online. And my approach, because Steve just delegated the entire online implementation to me, I was if it works, great. If it doesn't work, that's fine, and we're just going to say, hey, this is an in-person only character. So yeah, I think there's very much space to play around with the design and see how things translate. But yeah.
I want you all to know that there is the quietest house party ever happening to our left. That as soon as this stream finishes, we're having a big party. And there's a bunch of people over there that are already partying, but they're trying to do it in the quietest way imaginable, and it's hilarious to watch.
Silent rave. This leads into our next question nicely, which was Beardy saying, "Can we come over yet?" Which the answer is yes. You have to be very quiet. Right. Has there ever been consideration for changing the 4 demons, 4 minions script structure for the expansions? No. The longer answer to that is it's very much an option to create scripts in different structures. That's why the app allows for that. But at the same time, the official script structure is to have the 4 and 4, and 4 outsiders for that matter, and 13 townsfolk.
Yeah, it works too good.
It works super well. Yeah. We're going to stick with that. If something happened where that ended up being not what we wanted, we might consider changing it. But design-wise, that's definitely what we are aiming for. And unless something,
Yeah, we set the default because it works best. You guys go away and subvert it because that's part of the fun, I think. I think we've probably got time for one more before we've got to wrap up. So make it a good one, Jams.
Let's see.
This is when you find out they're all crap.
There are no more quick questions.
No, what I'll do, I'll ask, this was one that someone, okay, well, I'll do a quick one for you, and then I'll do the one that people have been asking all over that's not actually on here. Financially, how much does online play contribute to TPI versus physical sales?
We're all millionaires now.
Yeah, no, I mean, we're talking proprietary company information here. I don't want to go into that beyond saying it's significant. It's substantial. And, you know, we're not dummies. We understand that our hope is that Blood on the Clocktower as a physical game will be evergreen. But I think long term, if we still want to be doing this 10 years from now, 15, 20 years from now, then the app is the path towards that. So it's significant, not a majority, but it's significant and important and very, very good. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I'm being too naughty by saying the following. I think most people know this is kind of obvious, but in case it isn't, the app generates money constantly, whereas the game is sold in bursts, right? And that will continue to be the case going forward, whereas the app is a monthly income, I guess you could say.
And this is strength of the game, strength of the community, and strength of the app improving. But since it was released there's only been 3 months since August 2022 where the revenue dropped from the previous month, and most of those have explanations we understand. So
you're talking about the game or the app?
The app. But the game as well. Its popularity continues to grow. People keep adopting it. People are finding it. It's a game that I think sells itself. People play it, gets a lot of people play it the first time at a family's house or a friend's house. They decide they want to play it, and it's a community making tool. It's a story making machine. We've gotten quite philosophical from how much money do you make on the app.
And no one's surprised. Yeah. Right, last question. Does the carousel come with scripts? And the answer to this is no, but, and it's a very cool but, because I did, it's a funny sentence.
I
heard it. This is awesome, right? So the carousel doesn't come with scripts, it's just a bunch of tokens, but we want to make sure you're able to play with those tokens. And so one of the projects I worked on recently was basically gathering recommendations for just really good scripts that had carousel characters on them. Got a pool of about 50 scripts, lots of recommendations. And of those, basically, I went through and I was like, are there any scripts where only one carousel character, this is the only script where that carousel character is found? Cool. Chucked that in a pile. Then I was like, what carousel characters are left that aren't on a script yet in this pile, or that I haven't gotten represented out of the ones where it was the only script where you could find that carousel character? Picked those, and basically my goal was not to be here are the best scripts ever, here are my favorite customs, here's TPI's recommended customs. The goal is literally, here's a pile of as few scripts as possible where you can find every single carousel character, so that when you want to go and play with the carousel characters, you can just do it. You don't have to look for a script. You absolutely can, but you don't have to go very far. Here they are. That list will be dropping on Wednesday along with the online Wraith release. So we'll be doing a showcase of how the Wraith works online this Wednesday, 7 p.m. Aussie time on the TPI Wednesday stream. Around the same time, well, probably afterwards, because I'll be doing stream things, that list will come out of here are all of the scripts that you can find characters from the carousel on, and that has links to PDFs and JSON, so you can download those scripts and play them on your own time. It's a great list. Lots of my favorite scripts are not on it just because it didn't work for the project that we're doing. So if you love a script and it's not on that list, that does not mean it's a bad script or that we don't like it, because we probably do. Again, my favorite script is not on that list.
What is it? Just for the...
Oh, it's Dave's Night Watchman script. It's called Quis Custodia Ipsos Custodes. Which is who watches the Watchmen in Latin, a spoken language, notably. It's really just such a fun script because it's all designed around giving people reasons to talk to each other, which is fundamentally the point of Clocktower.
Yep.
So it's just a delightful, really fun script. But it didn't have the right comment. It just, most of the carousel characters on it were on other scripts that also had carousel characters that I needed in the collection. So yeah. It's not there, but lots of other really fun ones are, and so we hope you enjoy and find some scripts your group likes.
Okay, I think that brings us to the end of this. We'll see you all in a few months' time. Partiers, you can make noise, say hello!
Yeah, that's very loud.
Wow.
All right, okay. We'll see you all later. Thanks for tuning in.
Oh my god. That was so loud.
Wow.